You know, what if the single biggest thing holding you back from everything you want in life isn't a lack of talent or money or even luck? What if it's something else? A hidden enemy, one that sabotages you right when you're about to make a breakthrough, and even worse, right after you've already succeeded.
I mean, really think about it. We love to blame other things, right? We blame the economy, our boss, our competitors. But what if the most dangerous opponent we'll ever face isn't out there at all? What if it's way, way closer to home?
In fact, that enemy is staring right back at you in the mirror every single morning. It's this corrosive force that lives inside all of us, whispering exactly what we want to hear, telling us we're special, and then, quietly, leading us straight towards disaster.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down the huge, world-changing idea from Ryan Holiday's amazing book, Ego is the Enemy. In the premise, it's as simple as it is powerful. Your own ego is the biggest obstacle between you and the life you actually want to live.
Now, hold on. When Holiday talks about ego, he doesn't mean confidence or having healthy self-esteem. He's talking about something very specific, an unhealthy, bloated belief in our own importance. It's that voice of arrogance, that blinding ambition that just clouds our judgment and completely severs our connection to reality. You can almost think of it like the little kid inside all of us that's screaming, "I'm special, I'm better than everyone," even when we're not.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to explore how ego attacks us at 3 absolutely critical stages of any journey. First, in our aspirations, then at the height of our success, and finally, in the depths of our failures. And then, and this is the most important part, we'll open up a practical toolkit for how to actually fight back. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Aspiration. This is that exciting time when we're just full of ambition and big dreams. It feels like a time of pure potential. But it's right here, right at the start, that ego lays its first and most subtle traps.
The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu absolutely nailed one of ego's first temptations. You know the feeling. We get a great idea, a big goal, and we have this overwhelming urge to just talk about it, to tell the world what we're going to do. And yeah, it gets us praise, it feels good, but it's a total trap. And this need to talk is a trap. Because talking feels like we're making progress, but it's really just a cheap substitute for doing the actual hard work. Just look at the author Upton Sinclair. Back in 1934, he was so sure he was going to win the governor's race in California that he actually wrote a book titled I, Governor of California, acting like he'd already won. Well, the book was a hit, but the campaign, a complete disaster. Why? Because he'd already played it all out in his head. All that talk had replaced the tough work of actually winning. So, if talking is a trap, what's the alternative? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental choice that our ego is constantly trying to hide from us. It's not about what you're doing, it's about why you're doing it. This choice was perfectly summed up by the legendary fighter pilot John Boyd. He would ask his young students, are you trying to be somebody, or are you trying to do something? See, to be is pure ego. It's all about chasing titles, recognition, playing politics. But to do is all about purpose, focusing on the work, on the mission itself. It's a really important question we all have to ask ourselves. Are you being driven by your image or by your impact? And that brings us to the final hurdle in this early stage. Our ego loves to tell us we're a genius, that we've already got it all figured out. But as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned us, that feeling of certainty is the absolute death of our ability to grow. I mean, think about this for a second. Kirk Hammett gets the call to join Metallica, literally his dream job. So what does he do? Does he throw a massive party? Nope. His very first move was to call up one of the world's best guitar teachers, Joe Satriani, because he knew deep down he wasn't good enough yet. He was holding his dream in his hands, but his ego was quiet enough to know that he still had to earn it. He chose to be a student right at the exact moment he became a rock star. That's incredible. Okay, so let's say you manage to avoid those early traps. You do the work, you focus on your purpose, you stay humble, and you actually achieve success. This is amazing, but this is also the moment of maximum danger, because success is pure rocket fuel for the ego. The artist Marina Abramović puts it perfectly. The moment you start believing your own hype, that story your ego tells you about how special and amazing you are, that is the exact moment you stop listening, you stop creating, and you stop improving. It is, quite literally, the beginning of the end. When we're at the top, ego poisons us in some very specific ways. We start to feel entitled, like we deserve everything. We get paranoid, convinced that everyone is out to get us. We grasp for control, micromanaging every little thing, and probably worst of all, we become isolated, shutting out the very people and the honest feedback that got us there in the first place. This is how empires fall, and it's how geniuses become totally irrelevant. And you know what? That success bubble, it's gonna burst. It's inevitable, because sooner or later, every single one of us faces setbacks. We all fail. And this brings us to the third stage, where ego reveals its most destructive power. Look, failure is just an event. That's it. It's a data point. It's an opportunity to learn and get stronger. But our ego absolutely refuses to see it that way. It takes a simple setback and spins it into this soul-crushing story about our identity and our worth, turning a simple stumble into an absolute catastrophe. And here's the real tragedy of it all. When we fail, ego prevents us from doing the one thing failure is actually for, and that's learning. It points the finger everywhere else. It shields us from looking in the mirror, and instead of making us resilient, it makes us bitter. It casts us as the victim in our own story, which pretty much guarantees we don't just fail once, we fail the exact same way, over and over and over again.
So, we've seen the enemy in aspiration, in success, and in failure. It's a pretty tough opponent, right? So, how do we actually fight back? This is where the book shifts from diagnosing the problem to giving us the solution, offering a powerful and practical toolkit for managing this beast inside us. So, where do we start? Well, the book gives us some really powerful tools. First, always be a student. Actively go looking for feedback, not just for praise. Second, focus on your effort, not the results. The outcome is often out of your hands, but your work ethic, that's always yours to control. Third, choose purpose over passion. Passion is a storm. It's a fleeting emotion. Purpose is your compass, that stable why that guides you through everything. Fourth, abandon pride. Pride just makes us defensive and cuts us off from the truth. And finally, number 5, embrace what Holiday calls the canvas strategy. Instead of trying to be the masterpiece, be the canvas for others. Find ways to make other people successful. This builds you allies, and it teaches you way more than the spotlight ever could. These aren't just ideas, they are daily practices. Okay, so if you start doing all this, is the battle won? Is your ego finally defeated for good? Not a chance. And that is the final crucial lesson. Taming your ego isn't a one-time event you can just check off a to-do list. It is a constant, lifelong practice. When it all comes down to it, the entire battle is about this: cultivating 3 key virtues at 3 key stages of your life. Being humble when you're aspiring, being gracious when you succeed, and being resilient when you fail. This isn't just about avoiding a disaster, it's about actively building the kind of character that leads to a meaningful, lasting life of greatness. So, I'll leave you with this. Right now, at this very moment, your ego is whispering to you. It's telling you a story about how you're special, how you're exempt from the rules that apply to everyone else. The only question is, are you prepared to do the hard, humble work of fighting back? Look, this was just a quick fleet over a huge and powerful landscape of ideas. For a much deeper dive with more incredible stories and strategies, I really can't recommend Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy, enough. If this breakdown was valuable to you, please do me a favor and hit that like button, let me know your biggest takeaway down in the comments, and subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.